Good morning. Good morning. It's 8:45. If everybody will find a seat, we'll get started.
5:50.
I'm officially calling this meeting of the House Standing Committee on Licensing and Occupations and Administrative Regulations to order. Please silence your cell phones. If you're interested in testifying, please use the sign-in sheet. Testimony is at the chair's discretion based on time constraints and information already presented. No signs or any props are available in the committee room or allowed in the committee room, so please pay attention to that rule. I think we're all good this morning. I'd like to introduce two special guests. I've got Logan shadowing me today from Boyle County FFA Vice President, so welcome to L&O, the best committee to come shadow in, so welcome. And then a big shout out to the former gentleman from Kenton 69, Mr. Adam Koenig, former chair of this committee, is here today, so welcome, Representative Koenig. Thanks for joining us this morning. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Here.
Representative Bratcher. Representative Callaway.
Here.
Representative Kleins.
Here.
Representative Dixon.
Here.
Representative Pfister. Representative Flannery.
Here.
Representative Gentry.
Here.
Representative Heverin. Representative Herron.
Here.
Representative Huff.
Here.
Representative Jackson. Here. Representative Kulkarni.
Present.
Representative Meredith. Representative Moser. Representative Palumbo.
Here.
Representative Pratt. Representative Smith.
Here.
Representative Timoney.
Here.
Chairman Cook.
Here. We have a quorum. We are duly constituted to do business. So first item on the agenda, House Bill 551. Representative Meredith, if you'll please head to the table, hit the green light, and introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Michael Lee Meredith, State Representative for the 19th House District.
Representative Al Gentry for House District 46.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, it is a pleasure to be in front of you today to speak about House Bill 551. This is not a new proposal to anybody that's been in the General Assembly or served on this committee before. You recognize the former chairman of this committee, the former gentleman from Kenton 69 earlier, and he laid a ton of foundation for the bill that you see before you today over the last 3 years. In May of 2018, the Federal Supreme Court overturned PASPA in a ruling that sent shockwaves through the wagering world. Prior to that, only states that had been grandfathered before 1992 and Nevada were allowed to have sports wagering on the menu of options that they could have in wagering. Since that time, 36 states in the District of Columbia have legalized some form of mobile or retail sports wagering. The bill you have before you today, and I do have a committee substitute on this bill that makes a few minor changes to the original bill, and I will discuss the changes really quickly. There is a technical correction just to ensure that operators of sports wagering platforms are able to contract with tracks to run their on-site sports books. There's a technical correction that allows sports wagering at simulcasting facilities, and the 12-month in-person registration requirement to go to a track and actually register your account in person was removed in the committee substitute. And so those are the differences in the committee substitute and the bill.
Do we have a motion on the committee sub?
Motion. Second.
We have a motion by Representative Dixon. We have a second by Representative Timoney. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee subs on the floor, on the table.
Each of you have heard about the popularity of this, and I'm not here to appeal about popularity today. I'm here to tell you about taking a industry that exists in darkness and in the shadows and legitimizing it, legalizing it, and regulating it to protect the consumers of Kentucky. We know, based on the best estimates that we have garnered over the past year on this work, that there are somewhere in the realm of about $1 billion or more that are bet annually in the illegal and unregulated market by Kentuckians on sports wagers. That can be through a local bookie. It can also be through a offshore website. There are several of those out there. And 80% of the people that take part in wagering through those offshore websites think that they are legal sources for this, but they're not. They don't understand that because the internet does not bar them from going to those sites and placing those wagers, having accounts with those companies. The bill before you today will put this industry in a legal and regulated status so that everyone knows what the framework is, what the regulation is, and we put it under the regulation of the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission, which has regulated wagering in this state for a century or better. They have a track record of managing integrity and handling wagering in a proper manner. I can't debate anyone's moral objections or religious convictions to this bill, but I can tell you, again, $1 billion bet in the illegal and unregulated marketplace. And of those 36 states that have legalized since PASPA was overturned, 6 of the 7 border states that touch Kentucky have legalized a program of sports wagering. All the states surrounding us, with the exception of Mississippi or Missouri, have a sports wagering program currently, and some of them are expanding their programs. In the first month of its operation in Ohio, there were over $1 billion bet in the Ohio sports wagering marketplace. The GeoComply websites looked at over 1 million GeoComply checks from folks in Kentucky who tried to use legal sports wagering in Ohio during the first month in January. I think 55,000 roughly unique accounts that they notated in those GeoComply checks. Last Super Bowl season, it's 188,000 accounts that were unique accounts that were picked out and shown to be from Kentucky residents who were trying to bet in our border states. Over 5 million, I think, GeoComply checks during that time period. This is not a huge amount of money for the state. Let me be clear. It's roughly, by the fiscal note, about $23 million annually in revenue. But that's $23 million that's either not being given to any government right now or being given to one of our border states. Because we don't expect this to proliferate in a huge amount, much more than what we're already seeing in the wagering space already. Like I said, $1 billion in the marketplace of illegal betting currently, a significant portion leaving our state just across the borders, especially along the Tennessee line, the Ohio border, the Indiana border. And the total projection that we come up with is only about $2.3 or $2.4 billion bet in our program in Kentucky. I have the annual handles for several of the states around us, if anybody wants to know those. I have tons of data that I could provide to you today. But I just want you to understand that this is not a product that's not already happening in the marketplace. It's just happening in an illegal and unregulated fashion. And the bill that we have before you just seeks to put it in a regulated, legal marketplace so we protect the consumers of the Commonwealth on these issues. I want to turn it over for just a second to Representative Gentry.
Thank you, Representative Meredith, and he kind of stole my thunder. He hit the hammer right on the nail there. With access to this type of activity already exists. That access is either in an illegal fashion through private bookies or through offshore accounts. Kentucky residents are participating in the activity already. They're doing it legally or simply going across the border and spending their discretional dollars there. This will tax and regulate and make it legal, significantly reduce illegal participation in this type of activity, and will also help us pay down our pension liabilities because that's where the funds will be going to. Would love to have your support. Thank you.
And I'll close with, and much like previous versions, and Representative Gentry alluded to it, the funds go into the Wagering Administration Fund to start with. They will pay for the increased regulatory costs at the Racing Commission for regulating sports wagering. The leftover funds after the increased regulation cost is paid will go to the Permanent Pension Fund. Unlike other proposals that you've seen on this bill in the past, for those of you all that have been here, this bill does not include online poker or daily fantasy. It is focused particularly on the sports wagering marketplace. The only other major change over past versions of the bill is that the tracks still have the superior licenses, that the 9-track licenses would be allowed to have a sports wagering license, but they do get the opportunity to contract with up to 3 different sports wagering platform companies to provide either mobile or retail betting on their facilities to create a more competitive marketplace in the sports wagering sphere.
But appreciate that. We do have a motion, but we do have a few people signed up to speak against. So Representative Gentry, Representative Meredith, thank you. And great. Sure, we'll allow that. Sure, that would be fine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, let me make sure I have it pictured right on how this is going to operate. There'll be a license fee, and that'll be RFP'd out for companies that want to come into the state, such as FanDuel, and if I misspeak some of these, I don't know them all, but is that how it's set up?
Won't be particularly an RFP, Representative Smith. The superior license, as I said, any licensed track in Kentucky can apply for a license.
Okay.
That's the superior license. It's a $500,000 upfront licensing fee with a $50,000 annual renewal fee. The other companies, the DraftKings, the FanDuels, the platforms that you're talking about, would also have to be licensed, but they would then have to contract within one of those 3 available contracts with each track to be able to operate. Their licensing fee would be $50,000 up front and $10,000 for an annual renewal, but they would be required to have a contract with one of the licensed tracks to be in operation.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So make sure again that I've got this vision right. At our horse tracks, they're going to develop a room, such as, let's say I've been in Vegas and they had booking there. They have the games all up on the screens, and so it'll be similar to that type of an atmosphere. It won't be that you have to go and pick up papers to fill out. Like a book. They will be allowing this type of betting at the facility with live action. Am I looking at this right?
For the in-person facilities, I think you will see both in-person cashier, patron wagering, and probably also kiosk wagering for the in-house facilities. But then there will also be the mobile option through your phone, your computer, and internet applications.
Okay. And final, so could you tell me then, I know a lot of numbers are hypothetical on what's taken out of the state and what's bet today in the we call black market, where it's not regulated. Can you say that it's across the whole state, or is it centered around the bordering states that they have this issue? Is it a Louisville issue or Northern Kentucky? Because a lot of things I read was that they had to go across the border to bet on the Super Bowl. We've seen a lot of publicity on that. Can we say that it's widespread from one end to the other, east to the west?
I would say it's pretty widespread. Now, if you look at, and GeoComply has provided us, they're one of the geofencing companies that provide services to the providers to make sure that the folks are betting within the jurisdiction where they're legally able to do that. They have provided us with a heat map that I can show you after the meeting, Representative Smith, that what it shows is obviously in those border regions, folks are more apt to try to place a bet on their phone because they may not realize that they have to actually cross the river or cross the state border to do it. In fact, I will tell you, I've heard from some folks in Louisville who know the exact spot on River Road that they can go to where they can bounce off an Indiana cell phone tower and they can place the bet without crossing the river and paying the toll.
And the reason for it, Mr. Chairman, is because my vote today is going to be for regulating. It's not to promote a business one way or the other, but I don't believe we need anything out there that's non-regulated. I don't care if it's alcohol, gaming, whatever, and I've stayed consistent on that message. So I just want to make sure that I understand that the problems across the whole state is not just a border issue.
It is certainly more prevalent at the borders because it's easier to do, but I think you'll see it all over the state, west to east, north to south.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I don't see any other questions for you two, so I will let you guys get up from the table. And we have two signed up against this bill. We have the Family Foundation and Kentucky Ethics League, so I will let you all take the table. Please make sure your green light's on. Introduce yourself for the record.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. I'm David Walls, Executive Director of the Family Foundation. We are a Christian public policy organization that stands for Kentucky families and the biblical values that make them strong. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning and just express a few concerns about House Bill 551. The Family Foundation's opposition to the expansion of predatory gambling is well known to this committee and its members. But an issue of such magnitude and importance requires that we once again lay out our concerns. Predatory gambling, especially in the expansive form that is being considered here in House Bill 551, is not a victimless form of entertainment or competition. It is a form of financial fraud that sees the government partner with wealthy gambling interests to the harm of its own citizens. This is a simple truth and a harsh reality. This type of predatory gambling is designed to prey on human weakness, with the government colluding with gambling interests to exploit our fellow Kentuckians. It is an industry designed not to create wealth, not to encourage hard work, but to simply transfer wealth from those with a little to a multi-billion-dollar industry while encouraging our citizens to gamble with their financial security. Government-promoted gambling, including commercialized sports wagering, will only further impoverish Kentuckians while bringing other costs to families and communities across our Commonwealth. And unfortunately, these social costs are only amplified when we're talking about online sports and video game betting made on already highly addictive phones and tablets. Online sports betting puts casinos in the pockets of millions of people and has led some states to already report a tripling of rates in gambling addiction. And make no mistake, despite any attempts to protect children from this highly addictive form of gambling, commercialized sports betting harms children and radically changes the way that they perceive sports. The high frequency of deceptive ads by sports gambling operators serves to normalize gambling for children, leading kids to believe that gambling is central to playing and watching sports. Studies have indicated that children, no matter what steps are taken, they will gain access to sports gambling apps on their phones and devices in states where sports betting is legal. And when the younger a child starts gambling, the more likely it is that they will become a habitual and problem gamer. Finally, I would just urge this committee and all the members to consider for a moment, is the further expansion of predatory gambling really good policy in a time when addictions of all kind are on the rise? Is it a good time when high inflation, gas prices, and other costs are making family budgets even tighter? And if a multi-billion-dollar fund and new government program for problem gaming, which has been proposed in other legislation, is needed to attempt to undo some of the harms of this expansion of gambling, wouldn't Kentuckians be better off without it? I believe so. One of the main purposes of government is to seek the welfare of its citizens, not to exploit those who are vulnerable. Government-sponsored gambling is by its very nature bad government and bad policy. I urge you and the members of this committee to oppose this expansion of gambling and the harm that it will cause Kentucky. again, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
We missed you last week. We had another rather large gambling bill on the table, but let's turn it over to Gene Cole. Sir, welcome back. You're always
Thank you.
here, so floor is yours.
Gene Cole with the Kentucky League on Alcohol, Gambling Problems, and Substance Use Disorder and Kentucky Ethics League. As Mr. Walls said, gambling is a predatory industry. Even though they try to frame it as not, it is. Because you see on TV all these ads for apps that are being proposed in this legislation, such as DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, and any of the others. There's always ads saying, hey, place $50 bet with us and we'll give you another $200. Well, that $200 they give you, you can't take it out. You got to use it on that site and place more bets. And the reason they do that is to get you into the habit of making bets. Even though there's geofencing, as was pointed out, there's places here in Kentucky can be hit. Even the cell phones are vulnerable. Yeah, you can put a thing on there saying, you have to be over 21 or over 18. And if anybody can read and wants to place a bet, they can push the yes button, certifying they're over 18 or 21. Doesn't matter how old they actually are. I've heard stories of how underage people in other states placed wagers through the phone. One maxed out his mother's credit cards in about a month's time, placing bets. Mother had no clue until the bill came. Or others of where, now I think this was on an Apple device. I'm not sure because it's something I've never heard of, but supposedly with Apple devices, they can mirror. A dad had his phone and a child had a phone, but it was mirror of his dad's. And through that mirror, the child was able to place bets and wagers, even though the child was underage.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Cole. Thank you for testifying. Now, I have a few more that are signed up to speak in favor of this bill, but we do have a motion and a second on the table, so I'll leave it up to, if they need to come forward, they can, but Representative Meredith, Representative Gentry, if you're good, we'll go ahead and vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Point of order. Are we voting on the bill?
Yes, sir.
I thought you said there was more speakers. I missed that part. I was drifting. I'm sorry.
We had a couple more up that were that signed up to speak in favor, but Representative Meredith, Representative Gentry
Okay.
are ready to go ahead with the vote.
I vote yes.
Thank you.
Representative Callaway.
Yes, explain my vote, please.
Yes, ma'am.
This is what my constituents have asked for, so my vote is yes today.
Representative Kleins.
Yes, explain my vote, please.
Yes, sir.
So for me, we have 48 counties that border another state. So that's 40% of the counties in the state of Kentucky, for me, already have sports betting. So today we're making a decision for the other 60%. So I vote a yes.
Representative Dixon.
Yes.
Representative Pfister.
Yes.
Representative Flannery.
Yes.
Representative Gentry.
Yes.
Representative Hevron.
Yes.
Representative Herron.
Yes.
Representative Huff.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes.
Representative Kulkarni.
Yes.
Representative Meredith.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Moser.
Yes.
Representative Palumbo.
Yes.
Representative Pratt.
Yes.
Representative Smith.
Yes.
Representative Timoney. Yes. Chairman Cook.
Yes. Motion on House Bill 551 as amended by committee substitute passes. We look forward to hearing it on the floor. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you.
Now, let's see. Okay, Senator Julie Rocky Adams. We're going to move on to Senate Bill 94. Come on down. Make sure your green light's on. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the committee, and I would like the exact same vote total on Senate Bill 94. It's just happened. My name is Julie Rocky Adams, and I represent Senate District 36. Would you all like to introduce yourselves for the record?
My name is Dr. Beth Parton. I'm a family nurse practitioner.
Check your mic, pull it closer, make sure it's on. Try again.
Sorry, sir. My name is Dr. Beth
we go.
Parton. I'm a family nurse practitioner.
I'm Don Swikert, family physician.
Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am very pleased to present to you this morning Senate Bill 94, which is the agreed upon language from the Kentucky Association of Nurse Practitioners and Nurse Midwives and the Kentucky Medical Association.
Motion on the bill.
We have a motion and a second. Who did our motion come from? Who did the motion come from?
Kim.
Oh, Kim. I didn't know it came out of the sky. I didn't know where it came. We have a motion by Representative Banta, and who is our second through Representative Dixon. We do have one question.
Sorry. Senator, thank you. I want to make sure that this is a bill that I have in my mind that I've looked over. This takes nurse practitioners, takes the oversight by the doctor away, that they don't have to have that. Is this the bill?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood which bill we was voting on here. Thank you.
Representative Moser, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you just tell us briefly what the agreed upon language is?
Sure. Do you want me to go through that, or do you all want to go through it? Okay. Actually, I have a handy dandy little sheet right here. Okay. In section 1 of the bill, it spells out the requirements to be met in the collaborative agreement for prescriptive authority for controlled substances for APRNs and the collaborating physician. The 2023 bill requires a standardized CAPA-CS form be developed by a committee of 2 APRNs and 2 physicians within 60 days of the bill becoming law. Within 90 days, the Kentucky Board of Nursing is required to promulgate a regulation incorporating the standardized CAPA-CS form, and once the regulation is in place, every CAPA-CS agreement will utilize the same standard form. Kentucky Board of Nursing will notify the Kentucky Board of Medical Licensure when a CAPA-CS has been entered, and the Kentucky Board of Nursing will notify the Kentucky Board of Medical Licensure when a CAPA-CS has been rescinded and will furnish a copy of that notification. The CAPA-CS will have these requirements, which are to be recorded on the agreement form. The current 1-year moratorium on controlled substances prescribed by newly licensed APRNs will be eliminated. The CAPA-CS meeting requirements between the APRN and the collaborating physician are spelled out in statute now. APRNs may request to be exempted from the CAPA-CS requirement if the APRN has completed their 4 years of prescribing with a CAPA-CS and maintain a DEA registration, and they maintain their CASPER account, and they are in good standing as determined by the Kentucky Board of Nursing based upon specific criteria outlined in the legislation and the regulations that have been promulgated. They will receive written confirmation from the Kentucky Board of Nursing after its review that the APRN is exempt. APRNs who currently have a CAPA-CS but have not completed 4 years can complete the 4-year period pursuant to the CAPA-CS terms already in place and then submit requests for exemption to the Kentucky Board of Nursing. APRNs wishing to practice in the state through licensure endorsement are exempt from CAPA-CS requirements if the APRN has met the prescribing requirements of a state that permits prescriptive authority for APRNs, had prescriptive authority for at least 4 years, and had a licensure in good standing by the Kentucky Board of Nursing. APRNs wishing to practice in a state through licensure compact endorsement or licensure endorsement who have prescriptive authority for less than 4 years and want to prescribe controlled substances must enter into a CAPA-CS with a Kentucky physician. The Kentucky Board of Nursing shall conduct random audits of the prescribing practices of APRNs through a review of CASPR and shall take disciplinary action under KRS 314091 if a violation has occurred. Section 2 of the bill establishes the Controlled Substance Prescribing Council. It's going to be a 15-member panel. The OIG, the Office of Drug Control Policy, the Board of Dentistry, the Board of Medical Licensure, the Board of Nursing, the Board of Optometric Examiners, the Board of Podiatry, and the Board of Pharmacy will all be included in that. Quarterly meetings with administrative duties handled by the OIG. Functions are to discuss matters relating to safe and appropriate prescribing and dispensing of controlled substances, including review of the aggregate data from CASPR reports by provider type and county, and make recommendations on how to improve CASPR data collection. And then I'm coming to the end. And then make recommendations regarding best practices for prescribing based on current research and data analysis, make recommendations to licensure boards regarding how to better enforce laws and correct inappropriate prescribing, and communicate recommendations to licensure boards with the boards required to respond in 90 days to the council recommendations and explanation of their response. They may request information from licensure boards regarding their investigation and enforcement procedures. They will submit annual reports to the governor and the LRC recapping the above items, with the first report due on December 31st, 2024. And they may also make policy recommendations to legislative and executive branches to improve prescribing and enforcement practices. However, the council cannot make policy recommendations regarding scope of practice of providers. And then the council does not have a sunset clause.
Okay, may I just comment quickly?
Follow up, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate all of the work that's gone into this. I know it's been years in the making, trying to come to an agreement, and I'm very happy to see the prescribing council. That's something that we've worked on. I think I even filed a bill a couple of years ago to strengthen the collaborative agreement, and that's exactly what this does. So I am happy about that. I like the reporting. Is there any comment on liability protection or liability insurance requirements, or I didn't see anything about liability?
There is nothing in the statute about liability. However, providers carry their own liability insurance, both physicians and APRNs.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, Representative Timoney.
Thank you, Chairman. And very briefly, thank you for bringing this before us. I initially had some concerns. Obviously, the war on opiates is something that is very concerning to everybody, and it's still a daunting task. I believe that the provisions that you all have put in place are very strong. I think the safeguards are there. I think the guardrails are there. I think the limits that you put on prescriptions are there where they need to be. And I also believe that CASPR is a very effective method. My sister is a doctor, and she talks about her reporting that she gets from CASPR about, any anomalies in her prescriptive ability. So I believe that CASPR is a very, very strong tool in this, and I'll be voting yes today. But I just wanted to let you all know that for me, it was not an easy yes. It was a process, but I believe that you all have done the right things with this, and I think that this is going to be very successful for Kentucky. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table. No further questions. Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
I'd like to explain my vote.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I look back through the years. This has been going on for a long time, and I look back at Wendy Fletcher. She was down here for years, and I want to thank her and Jill York back there, and you, Senator Adams, for keeping the flag flying for this, and I'm glad we've come to an agreement. I vote yes.
Representative Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Dixon. Representative Pfister.
Yes.
Representative Flannery.
Yes.
Representative Gentry.
Yes.
Representative Hevron.
Yes, quickly explain my vote.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to take the time to thank Senator Julie Rocky Adams for her leadership on this issue. I know it's been a big lift, and this is something that when I'm home in my district, in the 18th district, a lot of APRNs are talking to me about. So thank you for your strong leadership.
Representative Herron.
Yes.
Representative Huff.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Kulkarni.
Yes.
Representative Meredith. Representative Moser.
Drum roll. Yes.
Representative Palumbo.
I'd like to explain my yes vote,
Yes, ma'am.
please. Thank you so much, Senator Adams, for working so hard on this compromise that will expand health care in Kentucky. I appreciate it, and I'm a yes vote.
Representative Pratt.
Yes.
Representative Smith.
Yes.
Representative Timoney.
Yes.
Chairman Cook.
Yes.
Thank you.
Senate Bill 57 passes with favorable expression.
Thank you,
So
you.
you asked,
Thank
we
you.
delivered. Thank you. Or no, it wasn't Senate Bill. Sorry, what was that? Senate Bill 94. All right, up next, Senate Bill 57 is up next. Senator Bledsoe. Make sure your green light's on. Introduce yourself for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Amanda Mays Bledsoe. I'm State Senator for District 12. Julie Campbell, Executive Director, Board of Cosmetology.
Motion on the bill.
Representative Timoney has a question.
Thank you, Chairman.
Absolutely. Okay.
Senator Bledsoe, on page 2 of your bill, you reference further defined in 28 CFR section 20.3, Part D. Could you elaborate a little bit on the impact of that on this bill?
I can't, but I'm sure Julie can.
Mr. Chairman, I retract my question.
Thank you. Any further questions on Senate Bill 57? Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Dixon. Representative Pfister.
Yes.
Representative Flannery.
Yes.
Representative Gentry.
Yes.
Representative Heverin. Representative Herron.
Yes.
Representative Huff.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Kulkarni. Representative Meredith. Representative Moser.
Explain my vote quickly.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to thank you for making it easier for cosmetologists to practice across state lines. This is an interstate compact for anyone who is watching and doesn't know what the bill does. So thank you.
Representative Palumbo.
May I explain my yes vote, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Senator Mays Bledsoe, for bringing this good bill before us. I'm happy to vote yes and appreciate your hard work on it.
Representative Pratt.
Yes.
Representative Smith. Yes. Representative Timoney.
Yes.
Chairman Cook.
I'm a yes, and I believe we have Representative Dixon.
Yes, I'd like to record a yes vote and
Yes.
Is there anybody else we've missed on the vote there? Okay. All right. Senate Bill 57 is passed with favorable expression.
Thank
And
you
you may
very
stay
much.
right at the table. Let's go right into Senate Bill 58.
Thank you.
And please have your new guests introduce themselves for the record.
Stephanie Chayeski, Executive Director for the Academy of Doctors of Audiology.
Emily Childers, Executive Director for the Kentucky Academy of Audiology.
Floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chairman. I'm here joined with several guests, and we are here, as well as people in the audience from the Kentucky Medical Association, the Kentucky Speech Language Hearing Association, and the Hearing Aid Association of Kentucky, and we're here to talk about 58. As you may know from the presentation held during the interim, in 2017, President Trump signed into law the Bipartisan Over-the-Counter Hearing Aid Act as part of the FDA reauthorization. After feedback from industry, providers, and patients, in 2022, the FDA released final regulations governing the dispensing and sale of over-the-counter hearing aids. While this federal
Motion
rule...
on the bill.
Motion by Representative Timoney, second by Representative Pfister. Are there any questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Dixon.
Yes.
Representative Pfister.
Yes.
Representative Flannery.
Yes.
Representative Gentry.
Yes.
Representative Heverin.
Yes.
Representative Herron.
Yes.
Representative Huff.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Kulkarni.
Yes.
Representative Meredith. Representative Moser.
Yes.
Representative Palumbo.
Yes.
Representative Pratt.
Yes.
Representative Smith. Representative Timoney.
Yes.
Chairman Cook.
Yes. Senate Bill 58 is passed with favorable expression. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Last, we have Senate Bill 65 with a committee substitute. My counterpart, Senator West, and Representative Derek Lewis. I think I told Representative Lewis 9:30 and 9:27, so rolling right on. If you guys make sure your green light's on, introduce yourselves for the record. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve West, Senate District 27.
Derek Lewis, representing House District 90.
Thank you for keeping everything on track today, right on schedule. What you have before you, can we please adopt the sub, Mr. Chairman?
We have a motion on the sub by Representative Dixon. Is there a second? Second by Representative Pfister. All those in favor of the committee sub signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Committee sub is on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lewis and myself, we are your chairs of the Administrative Regs Committee in Frankfurt. What I'm getting ready to say is mainly for any new members that are on the committee. The Administrative Regs Committee works unlike any other committee in Frankfurt. So we take a look at all the regulations flowing from the administration. All those flow through our committee, and we make sure that they meet the requirements necessary. And in that process, if we don't like a reg or if it doesn't meet the requirements of 13A, we cannot strike down that reg. We can only find it deficient or ask the administration to defer. And so if we don't like the reg and we find it deficient, that means we don't like it, but it still can move forward. The governor can just proceed on as if nothing's wrong with the reg. And so what we started doing about 3 years ago is at the end of each session, I would file a bill in the Senate, Senate Bill 65, and we've kept the same number every year. So it keeps track. We keep track of all those deficient regs, and at the end of the session, this bill finds that those regs are in fact null and void. And what it does, we have a list of the regs that were found deficient for you, and I'm going to let Co-Chair Lewis talk about that a little bit. But this bill is more about the process than it is about the actual regulations, and it puts some teeth into the work of the Administrative Regs Committee. And just to give you some context, it's not like we're stopping the administration from doing their work. We reviewed over 500 regulations, and in all that time, we found 3 sets of regs deficient. So Governor Beshear, most of his agenda, 470 other sets of regulations were allowed to move through the process. And so that's what the bill does. And then now turn it over to Co-Chair Lewis.
Thank you. So we have a few different ones. One of the first ones that I came into in January was Medicaid expansion. The regs took funds that we had from savings from our PBM bill in 2020 that Max Wise carried These funds expanded Medicaid access for hearing, vision, and hearing, vision, and dental. The agency, the cabinet, does not have that authority to appropriate funds. We do. Let's see, we also had Board of Pharmacy authorized protocols that we had yesterday. Reg dealt with medications that pharmacists may dispense without a prescription. Amendment strikes the individual conditions and adds more generalized language about what pharmacists are allowed to dispense, essentially giving them more discretion. We wanted it to be each, an individual list. And one before that I was here was employer-employee contracts, and what pretty much it controls and restricts who works as an independent contractor within Kentucky. The reg ignores multiple long-held tests to determine whether a worker qualifies as an independent contractor. These are the regs we found deficient. Be happy to answer any questions.
A motion by Representative Pfister. Do we have a second? Second by Representative Pratt. Any questions? One question by Representative Timoney.
Thank you, gentlemen, for bringing this forward. And the struggle for me with this one particularly today is I understand that there's a process and it's been found deficient, and that's so very important that we follow processes, we follow procedures. My concern, obviously, is going to be the outcome of this negligent regulation, and I think that
Can I ask you which regulation you're speaking of?
The deal, the dental piece.
Medicaid expansion?
Yes, sir.
I can speak on that if you.
Well, I'm just kind of, I'm not really asking a question. I'm kind of more making a statement
Gotcha.
about this. I'm a firm believer that dental health is one of those ones that's really, really important to the overall life expectancy of humans. I mean, it is one of those key indicators, and Kentucky definitely has been chasing the pack, in that particular category. And I think about all of our overall health outcomes and the quality of life that we want our, fellow Kentuckians to lead. The problem is that the policy wasn't followed correctly in order to provide them the coverage. So that's where I'm torn personally with this today. And I would look that, we moving forward, obviously we can't make any appropriations. We can't do anything at this late date. However, I think that we do need to look at seeing what we can do to maintain those coverages moving forward. So I'm going to be a yes today on this, but I'm really, really torn with that one particular piece. And I'd like some help in the interim in order to fix that moving forward.
I can speak to that if you
Yes, sir.
don't mind, Mr. Chairman. There's a path forward for the cabinet on these regs. There's some gamesmanship that gets played, and this is part of a process that they chose to move forward without the legislative input. And everybody I spoke to in the community, the dental community and others, they would say, first expand our rates, then expand coverage. They went ahead and expanded coverage, didn't expand the rates. Having said all that, if we find this reg, we found the reg deficient, and if we find it null and void, there's still a path forward for them after session is over. They can, our committee meets every month. They can file a new emergency reg and make the changes. We've been in consultation with them. There's a way for them to get it done if they choose to, especially on rates. This just mainly talked about the expansion. Didn't say anything about the rates. So,
Yes, Representative. There's nothing prohibiting them from coming out with a different fee schedule. It's probably been over 20 years since it's been raised. It definitely needs to be looked at, but this is not the way to do it. We need to go through the proper channels. We need to go through us because we appropriate funds.
Representative Herron has a question. Uh-oh.
Thank you.
Oh, my.
As far as the things that they need to change, you said the fee schedule. Are there other things that need to be changed as well?
So the regulation that we found deficient had nothing to do with the fee schedule. The fee schedule stayed the same. This just expanded the coverage to an adult population. And so they took the $38 million in savings from the PBM bill, which was Senator Wise's bill of a few years ago, and they went ahead, rather than getting legislative input on how to spend the $38 million, they just went ahead and expanded the Medicaid population and spent the $38 million. We felt that the legislature should have a little input on what happens there. So the reg we found deficient has nothing to do with the rates. They're still free to discuss that with dentists and audiologists, others, and increase those rates on their own. They can be back in our committee next month and do an emergency reg and do that. That's their discretion. So nothing in here prevents them from doing that.
Thank you.
Representative Mosier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you for bringing this forward. I think it allows us to have a robust discussion about the process and really what's going on. I have the same concerns about dental care. I know that this doesn't really preclude the cabinet from moving ahead on things like reimbursement rates. They have done this within certain categories of dentistry. There are some services that Medicaid covers that I think this filled the gap on. Again, I don't know that the cabinet can't go ahead and make those changes anyway, but things like paying for fillings versus a tooth extraction, things that, are very common sense. So, we need to make sure that we're allowing for those kinds of common sense changes. And then for services that are currently underway when this expansion happened, and I think some dental services were kind of rolled out, is there anything to protect those services, so that they don't just fall flat?
They could do that at any time. So one of the issues is they were waiting on CMS approval, and they didn't get that. And so they told the MCOs to go ahead with this expansion. And there was just a lot of, honestly, lack of communication between the providers and the cabinet. Going forward, I think you make a great point. I think we need to look at preventative care. I think that's a huge part of this. And it's a conversation we need to have in the interim and increase these rates. It's better coverage. I know in Eastern Kentucky, you cannot find a dentist that accepts Medicaid. You just can't. And
You're
it's
right.
a disservice to our population.
Yes, exactly. And that's what I've heard from my dentist as well. So thank you.
And frankly, that's part of the problem. There's a lack of communication. The cabinet should have been in front of the Health and Welfare Committee discussing this with us, come to some type of an agreement. And if they would have had that agreement ahead of time, there probably wouldn't have been any problem in our committee whatsoever on moving this forward.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Representative Gentry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question's simple. Will passing this bill result in the reduction of dental, hearing, or vision coverage for Medicaid recipients in any way?
This will delay any expansion of Medicaid benefits in these areas to adult populations.
Yeah, honestly, Representative Gentry, it's not in effect right now. So it's never been increased.
But if allowed to move, if allowed to move forward, that's what would have happened.
Quick follow-up.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
So let me restate my question. I probably didn't give you a good enough question. Will passing this bill eliminate the opportunity, or will it eliminate dental, hearing, and vision coverage being expanded under the Medicaid program?
Yes. Theoretically, you could say temporarily. Go ahead.
I think it's an opportunity to have a bigger discussion, though. Again, dentists aren't accepting these rates right now. You can expand coverage, doesn't matter. They're not accepting it. And that's from the dentists I talked to. If you look at the rates on the optometry side, it's about 30% less than what you get from a commercial plan or a Medicare plan. We definitely need to look at this issue and increase coverage, because what you have is healthcare deserts right now. But even the cabinet, I don't even know if they really talk to the providers on this whole issue. So, it's something we really need to look into and dive into and increase and work on. But this is not the way forward.
Representative Gentry, I'd like to make one further comment. We didn't make this decision. We didn't walk into the committee one day and just make this decision off the cuff. So this was after a series of meetings where the cabinet was in front of the committee. We would ask them to defer, fix it, change it, come back to us with a solution. We gave them multiple opportunities to negotiate and work through it. And so I just want to let you know it wasn't just an off the cuff decision. It was after a series of months in the committee. So.
Any further questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Representative Banta.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Callaway.
Yes.
Representative Kleins.
Yes.
Representative Dixon.
Yes.
Representative Pfister.
Yes.
Representative Flannery.
Yes.
Representative Gentry.
Explain my vote, please.
Yes, sir.
I'm a no today, and it's for the Kentuckians with disabilities in the state that are on Medicaid that have needed access to dental, hearing, and vision services for many years, and anything that tries to get in the way of moving forward, regardless of what the rate structure is, I'm going to be against. So, thank you.
Representative Hebron.
Yes.
Representative Herron.
No.
Representative Huff.
Yes.
Representative Jackson.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Kulkarni.
Briefly explain.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to be a pass today. I think that this particular piece of legislation before us directly impacts some of the most, I'm over here, sorry, some of the most vulnerable people in our Commonwealth and in my district, certainly. And I want to fully kind of understand all of the discussions that you all have had in your committee. So I'll be reaching out to you for further discussion. But I'm a pass today. Thank you.
Representative Meredith. Representative Moser.
Yes.
Representative Palumbo. Representative Pratt.
Yes.
Representative Smith.
My vote, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
It's a yes, and I appreciate this conversation because this seems to be the most talked about amongst my providers is the mandates that come down without proper pay, proper reimbursement. And as you stated, Representative Lewis, this is a major issue in Eastern Kentucky on finding providers to see our Medicaid patients. So thank you for looking into it. I'd like for you to look into the managed care too on the issues there because, again, that's a roadblock. So anything you can help us on that, I'd appreciate it. It's a yes vote.
Representative Timoney.
Briefly explain my yes vote.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all for bringing this forward. You all answered my questions and made me feel at ease with my yes vote today. Thank you. And you also have kind of inspired me to take a look at this and to see what we can do to make sure that we're taking care of our fellow Kentuckians in the Commonwealth, because we need to, and I think that the current system is definitely lacking. Thank you.
Chairman Cook.
I'm a yes. Senate Bill 65 is amended by House Committee Substitute 1, passed with favorable expression. Who'd have thought you guys had brought the most disputed bill to the table today?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
Do we have any members that need to register votes? I know we had a couple come in and out. Representative Meredith.
Chairman Cook, could I please register a yes vote on Senate Bills 57, 58, and 94, please?
If there's no further business for the committee, I move.
Chairman Cook, before you move can I introduce my guest really quick?
Yes, ma'am.
I really apologize. I was a few minutes late. I would like to welcome my guest today, William Huffman. He is going to be my page for the day, so he's going to be hanging out and see what it's like to be a legislator. So please make him feel welcome if you see him today. Thank you, Chairman.
No.
Good luck, William. All right, if there's no further business, I move for adjournment. Second, all